Hey everybody, welcome to Live on the Av. This is the only live news show in the entire world. I'm your host Jason, and today I'm joined by Tristan as Chad recovers from, I think it's gallbladder surgery or something like that. I'm not really sure. But either way, Tristan's here and he's going to give us his breakdown of the day's news. And we got a big one. Let's start off with the biggest news story of the day, which is Civilization 6 was announced. Pretty cool.
Pretty awesome trailer to get people excited for, like just showing like throughout the history of the world of civilizations and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so it's releasing in October. It's kind of crazy that this is another big game not announced at E3, just like whatever, just a couple weeks before E3. Civ 5 came out, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years ago at this point. That game is amazing. It's huge. It controls your life. And this one is adding a lot of cool things. I don't know if you're not really a big Civilization guy, but for me, a couple of things they're talking about adding here seem really great. Like cities being able to span multiple tiles now. So instead of just being like one little area, you'll just branch off into, I think it was like 10 or 15 different tiles where you can add and kind of like build these little sprawling cities, which supposedly affects gameplay and allows each people to try to not do the same exact strategy every time, which was the gist of what I was getting for the reasoning behind this. Other cool things are you can now have more than one unit you can on a tile, so your settlers no longer have to go out there and fucking buck naked. They can have like warriors right behind them, or like warriors, but instead of being behind them, can be on the same tile, so they get attacked, they can be defended. That sounds like something that should have been in there from the beginning. So when I'm saying that, you're probably, but it's pretty cool. And dynamic diplomacy is also kind of interesting, where civilizations, when you kind of meet the new people, instead of like having these advanced conversations, they're going to be very primitive and probably like, me fight you, you fight me, and then as you grow through the ages, you'll have like more diplomacy. So kind of cool.
Doing dynamic nowadays.
Dynamic is the way to go, right?
Yeah,
it's the way to go. Yeah, there's a lot of different screenshots and stuff on the internet right now. This trailer just was, as Chad put it, just a bunch of pictures that he could have fucking Googled. But the game looks cool. It looks interesting. It's coming in October. We'll have more on it as we get closer to its release.
It kind of covers like the improvements that some people probably have wanted throughout the years.
Yeah, like honestly, they could have just been like, "This is Civ 6," put it out there, and updated the graphics maybe a little bit, threw a couple things in there. I would have been all in, and I would have spent like an entire weekend playing it, like I always do. It's just one of those games that just grabs you and you can't stop playing. It's just one more turn, Tristan. I guarantee you, if you play it, you'll just play it all weekend. You'll lose your relationships.
Yeah, it's one of those games that once you start playing, you probably can't stop playing.
Yeah.
I know Sid Meier games, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then let's move on to the second story of the day, which is Dark Souls 3 had the biggest launch in series history, in that they shipped 3 million units to retail from when it came out until right now, which is crazy. I mean, I was like on the block party saying, man, I don't know if Dark Souls is doing it this time, if it was like connecting, but clearly I was wrong. Because the first Dark Souls did 1.2 million copies sold in that time period, and Dark Souls 2 actually only shipped 1.2 million copies.
Do you think they benefited from their other games in their umbrella, as far as like was Bloodborne and Demon Souls?
Dude, so I think Bloodborne actually might have really helped this game. Amy and Chad know better than I do, but you and I dove into Bloodborne.
Casual. We tried Bloodborne and it didn't last very long.
We sucked at it, right? And we didn't get it, and we were just like, I don't understand why people do this. But I wonder if it did. It just hooked like a whole new group of people that now are like all in on these games that weren't in on them before, and they seem more casual. I don't know, but I was like, mad props on them, man. This is supposedly the last Dark Souls game in a while, so we'll see what happens. But it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and Chad and Amy love it, and I'm sure we'll keep hearing more about it on the block party from them.
Yeah, I beat the first boss and then I quit. I'm a quitter. I am a quitter. The next story takes us back to... Yeah, speaking of quitting, you know what? Microsoft totally quit on this Lionhead Studios, as there was potentially people... I don't know if you guys remember, Lionhead Studios closed last month. It was the people that made Fable, and Microsoft had some offers on the table in the hundreds of $1 million range to buy the studio, and they rejected them. And it seems like they rejected them because they didn't want to get rid of the Fable property.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a brand they just in case, let's keep it in our back pocket in case someone comes to us with a good idea, instead of like selling it off and their idea like blossoming into something even bigger that they could ever dreamed of.
It's kind of smart, right? Like, what if happens if they buy BioWare or something, right? And then BioWare can make the greatest Fable game of all time. I mean, but $100 million, dude, and all those jobs that were lost. I mean, it's crazy, but I mean, I wouldn't sell Fable. It's a name that has recognition, so I totally get it.
Definitely. I mean, overall, Microsoft's not really hurting. For money.
Yeah, no, Microsoft
overall.
is fucking money coming out of their ears, dude. Yeah, speaking of, oh shit, more sales news here. Sorry, guys. Battleborn sales are tracking better than the original Borderlands at this point in time. That is not the most unsurprising news ever, right? Like, Borderlands, I don't know if you remembered Borderlands when it came out, Tristan, but it was like, it wasn't this huge game at release.
No.
It was weird.
You heard more about it afterwards.
Yeah, like, as it went on, people started talking about it, and I remember, like, Chad got really into it, I got really into it, and, like, we were like, dude, you got to get this game, and it kind of grew as it went.
It's definitely a word-of-mouth game.
Yeah. Battleborn, on the other hand, I feel like this is it. Like, this isn't getting good word of mouth. It's not going to get better. If they're fucking naive if they think this is going to sell 8 million copies like Borderlands did. I mean, even if they gave this game away free on PlayStation, it's not going to sell. They're not going to get 8 million people playing this fucking thing.
I've seen a lot of advertising for it, though, so they must have put some decent money into advertising. Like, it pops up on websites all the time, and
yeah,
commercials on TV.
I think this is their most expensive game ever. I think it might have been more expensive than Borderlands 1 and 2 combined. So they like have a lot of eggs riding on it, so it does them a lot of good to come out and say, man, this thing is doing awesome. Everybody loves this game. This game is great. But I played some of it this weekend. I'll probably talk about more about a little bit later on the block party, but it's not that great. It's just not that great. It's not that great. All right. Star Wars, Tristan. You love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Did you? And I think Amy brought it up last week on the block party. There was the potential for like new Star Wars games and new ideas, and we thought it would be cool if there was an RTS. Well, would you know, someone actually was working potentially on an RTS, and there's this weird demo video that came out this week, or today I think it was, showcasing what this new RTS would look like. It kind of looked like crap, but it was like, you know, who knows how early in development it was. Would you play this? Do you play RTSs, Tristan?
I don't really. I mean, anything with Star Wars, I give it a chance. Like I played a little of Knights of the Old Republic way back in the day. Didn't get too into it, but if it's Star Wars, I'll give it a shot.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying, man. And the other Star Wars RTSs were pretty cool back in the day too. This looked like could have been neat. Looks like a ton of stormtroopers, but who knows? Let's talk about Nintendo for a second. You have a 3DS?
I do not, no. And them dropping the price on the 2DS, like, why would I get a 2DS? Even if it is $80, that's still $50 less than what they were at launch with. That's not a drastic cut, to me at least.
I think $70 for a system, and then you get Mario Kart 7 for like tossed in for free. That seems like a pretty good deal.
Is it even worth to get a 2DS? Like, if you're gonna get a Nintendo handheld, you get 3DS, right?
Nah, see, I had the 2DS for a long time. I had the 3DS, got rid of it, got the 2DS. And I liked the 2DS because I never used the 3D on the 3DS. So I was always the kind of person that was just like, this is fine because I'm never going to use the 3D. Then I upgraded to the new 3DS because I wanted to win $1,000 with Chad's money in the Xenoblade Chronicles Challenge, which is still wide open. And everybody knows I can still win that $1,000 as soon as my 3DS gets fixed, which is a problem at this moment because there was liquid dropped in it, which Chad also dropped liquid into my Vita this weekend, but that's another story for the block party. But yeah, dude, I think $80, this is totally worth it. Like, I don't know, there's a huge library of games. It's weird that it's so cheap. Yeah. It's a well-made system. I don't know. If you have a kid, pick it up for them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely get it for a kid.
They'll love that shit.
It's meant for small hands, so it's perfect for kids, right?
Little bitty hands. And the final story of the day is basketball related. And it is NBA Live. This kind of came out yesterday. I totally missed it. Is moved from fall 2016, when sports games like basketball usually come out, into February 2017.
Right when the season's ending.
Well, the season doesn't end until like June, right? It's
playoffs. Playoffs go until June.
Yeah.
But
it's All-Star weekend.
Ends about March or so.
Yeah. I think it's All-Stars in February.
Yeah, it is.
So It's weird. Either way, like they're clearly trying to get out of the way of.
But if you release a sports game, release it before the season starts. Otherwise, you're losing at that point.
Yeah, it's weird because you get the entire season worth of sales. Like someone's gonna go to a basketball game and then go buy a fucking game at the store. It's such a weird thing. EA specifically said and came out that they're focusing on mobile. So I wonder if this is gonna be like NBA Live 16 with new rosters and focusing on their little mobile handheld game instead.
I like the reassurance by the NBA Live people saying, "Don't worry, we're still focusing on console."
Yeah. Thanks, dudes.
Yeah.
If anyways, like this thing sold like 10,000 copies last year, no one bought this shit.
I mean, I haven't enjoyed an NBA Live game since the '90s, so
isometric NBA Live 95 was the king shit, dude.
Yeah.
There was no better basketball game at the time. Now, if you're into
they
basketball,
lost their way quick, and NBA Live is definitely a subpar basketball game.
Yeah, it's fucking hot garbage, dude. Just say it.
Can't figure out the controls, really.
Controls are hard, dude. Figuring out how to pass one button pass, one button shoot, that's a tricky thing, dude. Not everybody can do it.
Which button I'll use, that's all I need to know.
Oh my god. And that's it. That is